He spent 27 years in prison. He could have chosen revenge. Instead, he chose reconciliation. This is the story of Nelson Mandela, the man who helped heal a divided nation. Nelson Mandela was born in 1918 in a small village in South Africa. He was born into the Thembu royal family and raised with a strong sense of duty, leadership, and justice. As a young man, he studied law, believing in fairness and equality. But as he entered adulthood, South Africa hardened into a brutal system of racial segregation known as apartheid. Under apartheid, black South Africans were denied basic rights. They could not vote, move freely, or live where they chose. The law existed to protect a minority while controlling the majority. Mandela refused to accept this system and believed that injustice anywhere demanded resistance. In the 1940s, Mandela joined the African National Congress, known as the ANC. At first, he believed deeply in peaceful protest. Marches, speeches, and civil resistance were his weapons. But the apartheid government answered these protests with violence. Demonstrators were beaten, arrested, and killed. Mandela faced a painful truth. Peaceful resistance alone was not enough to bring change. In 1962, Mandela was arrested. 2 years later, he was sentenced to life in prison. He was sent to Robben Island, a harsh prison surrounded by cold ocean waters. There, prisoners broke rocks under the sun and lived in small, isolated cells. The government believed prison would silence Mandela. Instead, it turned him into a symbol. For 27 years, Mandela lived behind bars. He missed the deaths of loved ones and watched his children grow up from a distance. Time moved on without him, but prison did not break his spirit. He studied, reflected, and learned. He spoke with fellow prisoners and even with his guards. Over time, Mandela came to understand that hatred would only create more suffering. He realized that true freedom required freeing both the oppressed and the oppressor. In 1990, after years of global pressure and growing unrest within South Africa, Nelson Mandela was released from prison. The world watched closely, expecting anger and calls for revenge. Instead, Mandela chose forgiveness. He called for peace, unity, and dialogue. He urged South Africans of all races to build a future together. Many feared the country would collapse into civil war, but Mandela remained calm and resolute. In 1994, Nelson Mandela became South Africa's first black president. Rather than punish those who had enforced apartheid, he invited them into the new nation. He supported the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, which allowed crimes to be revealed without seeking revenge. Mandela believed that justice, without forgiveness, would only tear the country apart. He served one term as president, setting an example of leadership without clinging to power. Around the world, Mandela became a symbol of moral strength, patience, and dignity. In 1993, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Nelson Mandela died in 2013. He did not conquer nations or build an empire. He did something far more difficult. He chose peace over hatred, unity over division, and forgiveness over revenge. And in doing so, he changed history. Mandela shows that real strength is not striking back, but choosing restraint when revenge feels justified. Power is greatest when it is controlled. 27 years in prison could have hardened him. Instead, Mandela used suffering as a classroom. Pain can either shape you or consume you. Mandela's victory wasn't fast or dramatic. It was patient, strategic, and deeply human. Lasting change is built, not forced. By learning to understand those who oppressed him, Mandela removed fear from the equation. When fear disappears, conflict loses its fuel. Mandela refused to let yesterday's injustice define tomorrow's possibilities. True leaders think beyond personal wounds. Forgiveness didn't erase the past. It prevented the future from collapsing. Mandela used forgiveness as a tool for survival, not weakness. Mandela led from a prison cell long before he led a nation. Leadership begins with character, not position. Nelson Mandela teaches us that the hardest battles aren't fought with weapons, but within ourselves. And sometimes, The bravest choice is choosing peace when the world expects war. If you love these stories, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more hidden history secrets. Which story shocked you the most? Comment below. I want to hear your thoughts.